Hello, podcast listeners and any who tune in on YouTube. This one's with full video, unless you're on Spotify or something, and then in case it's not. But I wanted to do something. It's the end of the year. Originally, it was a couple years ago that I had started the podcast, and it was under a different name. And after, I think, 4 or 5 episodes, it wasn't exactly the format that I wanted. And I put a halt on it. And then last winter, I decided to make it, revamp it into climate and conservation conversations. A little more how I wanted, more what I wanted to talk about, more the format that I wanted, which is great. And did a few episodes. I enjoyed it, but I very much got into my head at one point, and mentally I wasn't in the space to continue. And I was also really frustrated with just editing software and all that extra stuff that comes along with it, whatever. It has been something I've wanted to do for a very long time. Pre-podcast? Something that was pre-podcast. So I thought I would talk a little bit about my journey to get where I'm at and what I plan for 2026. And this is going to be kind of a deep dive into what it was like to have the goals and aspirations I did growing up and going to college and, excuse the language, but the absolute shitstorm that turned into. That I hope nobody else ever has to go through this, but I know there's other people that go through this and more. Maybe it could be a cautionary tale on when to throw in the towel and admit defeat, or when to just pivot to other things. We'll see. So bear with me. So I was born in 89. I'm a 90s kid. But I was a kid who grew up on PBS and Bill Nye. Oh my God, I loved Bill Nye. In 2nd grade, we used to watch Bill Nye. We would watch him. We got to watch PBS and watch Bill Nye in school in 2nd grade. And it was awesome. Oh my God, I loved it. I loved him. I loved science. I should step back a little bit, that my love of science started when I was preschool, kindergarten age. Come from a family that gave me every holiday, my birthdays and Christmas and summer breaks in between. It was giving me science books and just books in general. And I had in kindergarten, I remember this book called The Big Book of Knowledge, which was essentially this thick-ass children's encyclopedia of sorts, and I was obsessed with it. Oh my God, I was obsessed with it. And this really cool book series called I Wonder Why, and it was I wonder why spiders have 8 legs. I wonder why, and it was a whole thing of just different science topics. Loved it. In kindergarten, I was convinced I was going to be a paleontologist because this was around the time that Jurassic Park came out. Probably shouldn't have been able to watch it at that age, but thanks, Mom and Dad. Jurassic Park. Still obsessed. Anyway, even when I was younger, I lived with my grandparents, and my uncle had a National Geographic subscription, and he would always give the issues once he read them to my grandpa, and I would take the issues. Oh my God, the photography in them. I wanted to know how to do photography. Didn't really grow up with the money to be able to do photography or even pursue it or anything outside of taking photography class in high school, which is fine. I get to do it now, so that's cool. But I wanted to be a National Geographic photographer and science correspondent. I wanted to go do science things and document science things. And then here we go, we're getting a little bit older. In 1st grade, I had this neighbor kid that I hung out with all the time. What was his name? Jesse. His mom took us, when we were in 1st grade, up on this place called Brown's Mountain. It's not really a mountain, it's just a very giant hill of sorts. Well, it's not a mountain to us who live in mountain range areas, but we call it Brown's Mountain. Anyway, doesn't matter. She took us up there to see our first lunar eclipse, and that was just seared in my mind, and I was like, oh my God, astronomy is amazing. And then 2nd grade, it was Bill Nye, and it was learning the lunar cycles and everything. I went to a pretty good public school that was really focused on science and math and everything. I was obsessed. I think it was third grade, Bill Nye came out to Spokane and he had a live show. And my friend and I went, and we were like a couple rows back, dead center, watching his live show. And it meant so much to me, so much to me. And I was like, I want to be able to learn about science and communicate about science, which kind of ties back to National Geographic and that whole thing. And I, like most other kids, decided somewhere in the third, fourth grade, about third grade, that I was going to be a marine biologist. And that stuck around for a while. And then in middle school, I got really obsessed with chemistry and virology because I was really good at chemistry. God, I actually did go to some pretty good public schools. I'm thinking about it now. We did, like, third grade, we had experiments with how you, like, A/B experiments with raising different types of crops. Sixth grade, we had mice that we did controlled rats. They were albino rats, which I got to keep one afterwards, which was the coolest. Oh my God, they're such great pets. But we did experiments with those, and so on and so forth. So on and so forth. Like I said, in middle school, I was obsessed with virology and chemistry. I don't know why. In high school, where I really solidified that I was going to go into astrophysics, and that was my thing. I was reading Stephen Hawking in high school, and I was just absolutely obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. I was still actually really obsessed with chemistry. I was really good at chemistry still. Loved science. And to the point that my friends that I hung out with used to make fun of me because I would always bring something back to science. So I kind of learned over time to be a closeted science geek until I was an adult. And then I was like, nah, we're not going to play that game. Never, my friends made fun of me for being a science nerd, but it was always like, you're just a dweeb. You're a dork. You're always talking about these things. It was never, you're a sexist angle, never a misogynistic angle of, you're not good enough to do these things. You're not smart enough. I was good enough and I was smart enough. That was the part that I got picked on for it. But once I graduated, took a little time between graduating high school, going to college, took, the gap year, like a lot of people do. And I came back and I was like, I am going to go into astrophysics. That's what I'm going to do. Highly recommend doing community college and knocking out all those gen ed classes for way the hell cheaper. Definitely do that. And I had some really great professors. I was very interested in geology as well. Always really loved geology. Kind of basically love everything except maybe biology was never like super front and center. I find much of it to be fascinating, but it wasn't like a hyperfixation that I had. Like geology, I was super, 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 super interested in, but I live in the Northwest. We have just an insane variety of geological features out here. It's actually kind of really amazing and why I love this place. I never want to leave this place. But I always came back to astronomy and physics. I was good at math. I was in accelerated math classes since elementary school, which was kind of cool that I guess my elementary school did that. And knocked out, those gen ed classes in community college and whatnot. Then transferred to a university. It was a small university. It was here because I just couldn't afford to up and leave and go somewhere else. So went to one of the universities here. There's like 5 universities here. It's kind of a college town, massively. Eastern Washington, Whitworth, Gonzaga, UW, and WSU all have campuses here. And I got into my physics program. That's kind of where things started to go downhill. It was a very small physics program. I didn't really know much of it before joining. Apparently, it has a reputation. To the point that there's actually no physics degree anymore. I think they removed that a couple years ago, which is crazy. So there was one chick who was a couple years ahead of me. She was graduating when I was coming in. And otherwise, it was just me, myself, and I, and all the guys. Just fine. I made really good friends with them. They were great. I kind of lost my mind. I had never had test anxiety until going there. And depression and overall anxiety that wasn't typical of me. And I completely cracked. But I was so stubborn. I had the person who's the head of the person who was the head of the physics department. For the love of God, I have no idea why, but he treated me like shit. To the point my male classmates were like, why? Why does he single you out like that? I'm like, that's an excellent question. I don't have an answer to. I couldn't ever, if I had, he was the head of the department and he taught most of the upper division classes that I was taking. And he taught a couple of the lower division ones. And if I had a question on something, the homework or whatever, mind you, his homework sets were like 50 hours a week homework. It was absolutely batshit. If I asked him a question, it would be, don't ask stupid questions and go figure it out. Stop asking stupid questions, go figure it out. Like, are you kidding me? So I would hand my question off to one of my male counterpoints, and he would take it to him and get the answer immediately, but not me. I was never allowed. He wouldn't look at me. I would pass him in the hall and say, hi, good morning, or something, and he wouldn't even look at me. He would literally look the other way. Like, it was maddening. I also had a chemistry professor there who said, I had one chemistry professor, he was phenomenal. I did very, very good. Good enough that after a month of being in class, he wanted me to go do research with him, and I should have. I honestly just really fucking should have. But the other chem professor I had announced in class that women don't belong in the hard sciences, and those of us in the class are not going to do well, and we should stick to soft sciences. And I was like, motherfucker, are you kidding me? How do you have a job here and you get away saying shit like that? Not okay. Absolutely not okay. It was incredibly frustrating. There ended up being an astrophysics professor that came on teaching. And he was really nice. He was younger, nice, and kind of took me under his wing to be my mentor, because I was the only one there who wanted to go into astrophysics. Everybody else, there was a couple nuclear physicists, a couple actually just went into like, I think one was in atomic physics. Like, everybody had their own special interest with the physics, but I was the only astro one. And so he kind of took me under his wings, like, you should, look at these sort of things, look at these books, and it was very helpful. But things started to go awry, and he started making weird, offhand, passive threats against the head of the department. Now, mind you, I hated him, but I was like, yeah, that's really not okay, and I'm very uncomfortable now. Also, stalking a female student, and things just got super uncomfortable really fast that me and two of my cohorts ended up going to the police station to make statements about things he was saying and doing. And so I felt like the only administrative type person that I had in my corner on a more, personal and direct level, other than just being a professor, it was gone. I was so stressed out. I couldn't even remember what day it was anymore. I couldn't remember anything that I was learning. That's something that I feel like a lot of places, or just is not, maybe it's not very known, or it is known and I just do jack shit about it. But when you are so stressed out and have such high anxiety, I didn't get anything medicated. I was not doing the Medicaid thing. I didn't have insurance or anything like that. You get so stressed out, your memory is gone. I wasn't sleeping well. I was doing TA work in the math department and the physics department, grading papers. So it was like I was at school half the day. The other half of the day, I'm trying to get my homework done, and I'm staying up till midnight, 1 a.m., trying to grade papers. I had so much happening, and then working part-time jobs on top of, it was just, I couldn't handle it. And I really, really tried, and I ended up my senior year of physics leaving the physics program, even though I loved it, but I felt like I got put a kind of final straw. LIGO. The LIGO facility is outside Hanford, Washington, which I'm from the Tri-Cities, which is just outside the area. And I had wanted to tour that facility for years. I was so excited to tour it. summer break came around and I was talking to a professor and one of my classmates, and they said, "Hey, why didn't you come tour the facility with us?" And I was like, "What do you mean tour? You toured LIGO? When did you tour LIGO?" I said, "Yeah, the professor who's the head of the department who hated my fucking guts, he invited all the physics majors out to go tour the facility as a field trip. Invited everybody except for me. At that point, I was the only female left in the department. Woman left in the department. I don't like the term female. Whatever. So it was another straw to break the camel's back of excluding me from the department and things that were happening in the department. And so what's the point? I love this, but I am so stressed out and unhappy no matter how much I love this because of the people in this department, the program and everything. And I fought way longer than I should have. Like I had failed classes for the first time in my life because I was so stressed out. I just couldn't do anything anymore. I was having mental breakdowns on a weekly basis. Like this was totally foreign territory for me. And I left. Actually left school for a little bit altogether. Couple quarters. We were on a quarter system. It's weird. And I came back and decided I'll go to geology because I really liked geology. I found it fascinating, and I did. I did that for a while. It was really cool. The department was awesome. I had a friend in geology. Actually, I made a couple friends. And I maybe it's kind of stupid of me. I kind of a little bit regret this at this point, but I was like, I wanted more math to do. Like I missed that part of physics and math. There wasn't. I was taking senior level classes and there just wasn't. It wasn't there. So I ended up leaving geology. And at that point, I had spent too long trying to retake classes, joining a different degree and everything, that financial aid was like, you need to hurry the fuck up and graduate or pull out private loans. So I said, well, I pretty much have a math degree almost knocked out, so why don't I just go finish that? And physics can just be my minor, even though it was like 3 classes. I think I was three or 5 classes away from majoring in physics. I just had to take a few upper level classes and a couple labs and I was done. But I was not going to go back on that life. And so I went to math, which I love math. I've always loved math. It is fun, but I wasn't really, I don't like mathematics for the pure mathematics. I like math for its applications. So just getting the math degree wasn't really suiting me. But I did it. I got my math degree. I got a bachelor's of science in mathematics. I ended up doing my final research project on temperature and precipitation trends for Spokane, which was really cool. I felt pretty great about it. It was like my first time really coding. I did some Python in physics, but I was using R, and that was cool. Enough that my math advisor, who's a great person, really great person, was like, this is interesting. If you could send me all your stuff, I'd like to learn more about it. It's like, cool. That made me feel really, really nice. I felt bad that I was in a department getting a degree that I wasn't like in love with. And then I graduated, the pandemic happened, and I was like, I don't even know what to do with my degree anymore. Fast forwards however many years, and I'm a data scientist. I don't know how that works out, but I really like statistics, so that's where I'm at. But all that to say, I love math and physics and astronomy and earth sciences with every inch of my body, but I felt like I got treated like shit. I was pushed and shoved out of a department that I wanted to be in, even though it was shitty, because I loved the subject of the department. And that's not something that I want to happen to anybody else, quite frankly. And I know it's going to, because it's fucking STEM. That happens a lot in STEM, and it's really shitty. All that to say, I was very passionate and really loved what I was trying to do. Things just went very sideways in a way that I could not predict ahead of time, and I never ever would have seen it happen because that was not, I wasn't used to that. I'm doing the podcast because through all this, like way back when I was in school in the mid 2010s, I wanted to, I didn't have cameras, I couldn't afford them. I was broke as shit going through college, and I couldn't afford to do like science outreach. I really, really wanted to, but I could not do it. So I mostly just connected in like Facebook science groups and stuff and talked to people and just kept learning and doing things that I wanted to do as part of the astronomy club out at school. That was really fun. And at one point, I got really into photography, doing nature and wildlife photography. I had a shoot camera. It was like a Nikon, what was that? Nikon 3200 or something like that. It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst. It was fine. It was mediocre. Lo and behold, my step grandpa is a wildlife photographer. I mean, it's a hobby, but he's really fucking good at it. He's retired. He just travels the world doing wildlife photography. And when he learned that I was really into it and trying to pursue this thing that I had loved since I was a little kid, he gave me some of his cameras to play with because he upgrades a model and then he's like, well, I'm not using the old one anymore, so you can play with it. I'm very, very fortunate and lucky that he allows me to use these cameras. And I decided I was going to make a documentary, which is something that I thought would be really interesting based on my senior project my research project about climate trends and stuff around the area. I wanted to do a documentary about it, just about what I saw, because there's like, it was just a discrepancy of what I saw as a kid growing up to what I see now as an adult for the last 10 years. And then I thought, maybe this is a time where I can actually start to pursue doing science outreach. And now podcasts are a thing. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll do a podcast. And I totally realized that everybody and their cousin is doing a podcast, so I don't expect a whole lot out of it. But it fulfills the need in me to be able to talk about things. I'm very excited about that. But I went through the hurdle of, I tried it one way, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. Tried it this other way this year. I felt a lot better about it. But in the back of my mind, I had this, the stupid little inner voices that you have that's saying, you're not good enough for this. So what if you're a data scientist, you're a mathematician? It doesn't matter. You're not good enough to do this. Who's going to listen to you? But I essentially got a kick in the butt to do it because one of my Facebook friends, I would record little videos about stuff that I was seeing or new topics and stuff. And she was like, you're good. You can explain these and I'm interested in what you have to say. And I thought, okay, if you say so. Peer pressure to do something that I want to do, but I just get wrapped in my head. So I am happy with where I pivoted. I just hit a point where there was a lot happening in life and I was not feeling good enough to be able to keep doing it. 2026 is coming around in a week, less than a week, a few days. And I've decided the voices in my head need to go F themselves and I should just do the thing. And when I get wrapped in my head, just remember I am qualified to talk about this. I can talk about this. And it's a passion project. I'm not gonna make money off this. Who effing cares? I'm just here to talk about something I want to talk about because I want to talk about it with other people and I hope other people want to listen and learn and talk about it back with me. That's what I want out of this. So that was a very long intro to my background to say that for 2026, I really want to kick off doing better with the podcast. And there's a lot, like I work a full-time freaking job. I'm a data scientist. I have a lot of shit that I have to do on the day. So I'm not going to try to push having to do weekly. It'll probably be bi-weekly. I like the idea of kicking off the month with a research episode about a topic and then ending the month, well, like 2/3 of the way in the month, with a sort of news roundup of things that are recently in the news. Why a headline is really inflammatory or why are we not talking about this other thing that's happening over here, or misinformation that's happening? Because, yeah, misinformation is pretty hefty around climate change and a little bit around conservation. Actually, yeah, I mean, I'd say there's a lot more controversy around climate change than conservation. Most people, I feel like, can get on top of conservation, but things go awry. Whatever. I want to talk about these things, and that's the format I want to do. I'm very much likely not going to do, video ones. I don't have the setup. I have a tiny little apartment. I don't have the setup to be able to do something. As you can see, it's just nonsense in this little teeny tiny corner that I have. If you're watching this on YouTube, that is. If you're listening on Spotify, you can't actually see the mess unless you come to YouTube. But I want to go back to pursuing it. I would like to revisit the idea of a miniature documentary. I'm not sure that I will fully, I don't know that I'm fully going to commit to it. It might just be something that I do for myself and never release. I would, however, like to go back to doing these silly little segments that I used to do for social media, and I would call it Timber on Timber, and I would sit on the fallen timber log, and just give like little snippet updates, or do some updates of just when I go out birding and doing wildlife photography, just doing little videos like, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm seeing, what's really cool about this area that I'm in, that sort of thing. Things that I really, really love. Also, side tangent, because I also do like a book review kind of channel that I'm trying to do more science books, because I really love science books, and I feel like there's a massive lack in reviewing those. The book world is kind of heavily in this, like, I don't know, romantic-y book talk phase, whatever's happening, which is totally fine, no shame. But I love these things and I would like to talk about them. So I might share those on this channel, or I'm just gonna be like, hey, go check out the new video on this other channel. Whatever. All that to say, 2026, I'm gonna put my foot down and work on doing better. So this was a long video. Am I sorry? I don't think I'm actually that sorry. I hope I could convey where I'm coming from, the love that I have for these topics, I'm not even love, it's honestly kind of an obsession, quite frankly. Love and obsession that I have for these topics, and I hope I can help educate people or just excite people about something. Maybe you'll learn something you don't know. I learn shit I don't know every day. That's just what it is in life, constantly learning and evolving. I am excited for 2026. I hope you're going to be excited for 2026. Cross fingers it works out. Anyway, it's the end of December. That is Timber in a nutshell. Stick around. I guess, what do? You like and subscribe, or hit a thumbs up, or notifications, whatever the algorithm and functionality of the platforms tell you to do. I will see you in the new year. Hope everybody had a great holidays, and I will see you later.